Now, when it comes to talking about Goku in general, you would seem to know that Goku has a lot of different versions of himself, really, ranging from original Dragon Ball to Z to Super to, Heroes to Xenoverse to even GT, which GT Goku is the main topic of this video, as you can tell. The reason why Goku has so many different variations most likely has to do with how large Dragon Ball as a franchise has become, and due to that, how many spin offs and yada 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 there are of the series, just due to the sheer popularity of Dragon Ball as a franchise. And GT Goku is a version of Goku that is a little underrated in comparison to his other counterparts, really, especially if we're comparing him to Super or to Xeno Goku. Mostly because of the fact that Super and Xeno Goku are thought of like these unstoppable forces of nature that are so vastly beyond everything that is before those two versions, which would include GT Goku. But I do want to show how fucking powerful GT Goku is, and that he is a lot stronger than some people might actually think. Before I get into the main juicy bits of the feats shown within in Dragon Ball GT and how that would scale to GT Goku, I do want to show you guys some things that are relatively interesting and that those things would actually affect GT Goku's scaling overall. Those things are the fact that Z movies, or at least the majority of them anyway, are canon to GT. The reason I say that is pretty cut and dry for some of them. The first example would be the Garlic Jr. movie, or the Dead Zone movie as it's officially called. Dead Zone is canon to the original Z anime, since there's a mini filler arc within the anime involving Garlic Jr., and that mini arc makes references to the Dead Zone film. And GT is a continuation to the original Z anime, so obviously the scaling would affect GT. And there is some scaling within the Dead Zone film that I will touch upon later that would affect GT Goku. Another film that is potentially canon to GT is Fusion Reborn. The reason I say it's canon is because we're shown references to Fusion Reborn in the GT Perfect Files, which is a guidebook for Dragon Ball GT, and the characters reference using the fusion dance like Vegeta, and Vegeta's not really the type of person to just know the fusion dance off by heart unless he's done it before with Goku. The only reason why Vegeta knows it is because Goku taught him it, and Vegeta isn't really the type of person to just use it willy nilly. The only times I've seen Vegeta use it prior to DBS Broly and GT is Fusion Reborn, so Vegeta, as I said, is always reluctant, so it doesn't make sense for him to use it within original Z. So there's that, and because of the fact that Fusion Reborn is canon to GT, a lot of the other films are canon to GT as well. I say that because a lot of characters from previous films showed up in Fusion Reborn. Uh, as I'm going to show on screen, enemies and characters from, say, movie 2, movie 9, movie 8, as well as other movies such as Cooler's Revenge and potentially the Metacooler film do make an appearance in like Fusion Reborn, and Kohler himself even showed up later on in the actual GT series within the Super 17 arc, and that can only happen if Kohler and all those other characters from those listed films are canon to the like GT timeline. So the scaling from those films can be applied to GT Goku. Some feats would include Goku in Fusion Reborn shaking the entirety of the other world by just transforming into Super Saiyan 3, Also, within Future Reborn, base Goku was able to fight relative to weighted Pycon pretty easily. The overworld as a whole has been stated by the Daisenshu for a world guide to be a realm that transcends dimensions, or something similar depending on the translation you want to use, which the RPG guidebook states something similar by saying the overworld is a higher dimension. So if you're going to use Daisenshu for a world guide statement, and if you were to look at the original kanji, you would see that the scan uses the kanji kojin, which is used for something within Japanese to describe something as a super dimension, or something that's super dimensional, or something that transcends dimensionality. And because of that, you could potentially argue the overworld is outerversal at the high end, but on the low end, it's most likely 5 to 60, considering, hyperspaces and other things exist within the living universe, and the overall transcends the living universe. Blah blah blah. I could go more in depth on it if I want to make a cosmology video in reference to Dragon Ball. However, there is an argument debunking Outerversal overworld by just saying, "Oh, it has gravity, so it's not Outerversal." But a counter one could potentially bring up is that the overworld is applied by King Kai with Insane Saga to be non-corporeal, which basically means and implies that, the overworld is non-physical, and things within the overworld are non-physical things, and the only reason why they're shown to appear physical is for entertainment reasons. Nothing within the afterlife is actually physical, which, depending on who you ask, would potentially rebunk Outerversal Overworld. And the only reason why King Kai's planet has gravity is most likely because it has artificial gravity, and we know the Kais are capable of applying gravity and using artificial gravity instead of natural gravity. Only natural gravity really would debunk Outerversal, like Overworld, depending on who you ask. And since PyCon is relative to, or at least relative to, Fusion Reborn Goku's scaling within anime filler, PyCon, when he was in hell with Goku fighting some characters, Weighted PyCon specifically was able to one-shot Perfect Cell, as well as Final Form Frieza, as well as King Cold. Not only do guides state that PyCon one-shotted Perfect Cell easily, but they also state that Perfect Cell was on like as strong as ever, suggesting that he's potentially as strong as his super perfect self. Super perfect cell was stated numerous times within the anime that he had held enough power to bring an end to everything, at least suggesting that he would destroy the living universe, turning everything into a darkness of space with no trace remaining. El Moro, a like Namekian within the anime, was also stated that Cell could be a threat to the entire universe and could destroy it. And even base Perfect Cell, releasing his full power, was able to shake the entire universe. And Cell did something similar to this in his semi perfect form just before transforming into his proper perfect form, which the living universe is actually infinite in size. But even if you don't want to say its infinite size, he's still shaking the universe, or at least the observable universe, which is still a multi-galaxy to multi-galaxy level plus feat. Even if you just want to say that, oh, Cell's solar system statement applies and it's the only thing that's accurate, blah blah blah, it would still mean that, you know, he's above solar system level for a lot of reasons. For example, one of the reasons would be that considering the angle Cell would have shot the Kamehameha at, it would likely be higher than just baseline solar system level. And another thing to bring up is that solar systems within Dragon Ball consist of nebula with a numerous amount of stars, meaning that this piece of scaling is bare minimum solar system plus to multi-solar system at the very least. But if you don't limit Cell to that statement where he could blow up the solar system, he could be approaching universal, or is universal to universal plus, depending on how you want to scale them. And some more feats that would scale to GT Goku would be Broly destroying the majority of the Stealth Galaxy, only really leaving the only really leaving a few planets and a few stars left. And a lot of characters within the Broly film, at least the original one, stated that legendary Super Saiyan Broly would be a threat to the entire universe. At least referring to the living universe, which again is infinite size, going off of guides and everything. And other good feats that would scale to GT Goku would be Metacooler being able to move and fight Goku within like Goku's instant transmission realm with Metacooler's raw speed alone, which is a good feat because you could argue this would make Metacooler and in turn GT Goku immeasurable speed. And the last piece of scaling I would want to bring up that would affect JT's Goku scaling is from the Dead Zone film, which did say I would get into. Garlic Jr. was able to create a super space within the Dead Zone film. Now, there are translations you could use saying that he's creating a hyperspace, but the actual kanji is Chokugen. I believe that's how you pronounce it. I could be butchering it, which basically means super space, which isn't the kanji for hyperspace. Super space can either mean something that is five dimensional or something that is infinite dimensional. To say that something is like a super space and it's just to say that super space is infinite dimensional, you would need a lot of context. Super spaces that are in context to Bosonic string theory are naturally infinite dimensional since they involve supersymmetry, which also involves an infinite amount of dimensional axis or axes, depending on how you want to pronounce it. Since wave functions and quantum mechanics are shown to exist within Dragon Ball, which is also stated by the official Dragon Ball site, the Bosonic super spaces would likely apply to Garlic Jr.'s super space, meaning that Garlic Jr. is likely creating a high hyperversal structure, which would scale later on to GT and to GT Goku. So, due to everything I presented up till now, this would already scale GT Goku on the high end anywhere from high hyperversal to out versal, even at the beginning of GT. Goku's scaling only gets crazier from here on, really. Base Goku, when he was training Oob, was able to heavily damage and pretty much destroy the hyperbolic time chamber on Earth. The hyperbolic time chamber on Earth has been stated to be anywhere from Earth size by Goku himself when he was training with Gohan in the Android saga to endless in size, going off of certain guide statements. And by this time, Goku should be stronger than his Enda Z self due to the years worth of training he got. Enda Z Goku was already stated by guides to be the strongest warrior up to that point, and due to the power gap Goku got between, say, the fight of Vegeta and the Saiyan Saga to the arrival on Namek, getting a power gap of power up by of around 11.25 times at the end of the week, like which was enough time for the ship to go from Earth to Namek. Uh, if you apply a similar boost of power by the end of the 10 years of training Goku got, from the end of Z to the start of GT. GT Goku, in comparison to end of Z Goku, should have a power difference of about 5,000 or so. And later on in GT, we're introduced to a character called Rildo, which base Rildo was already stated by Goku that he was the strongest person Goku has ever sensed up to that point, with Trunks stating that Rildo's ki is impossibly huge, and Goku later stating that Rildo is stronger than characters like Majin Buu, with Kid Buu being the strongest person Goku fought at point of the end the point of the Buu saga, really. And Goku was able to fight Rildo with just a simple base and Super Saiyan forms. This means that base and Super Saiyan Goku is enough to fight high hyperversal to potentially outerversal characters this early on in GT. And after this, Goku only got stronger. For example, in the Baby Saga, Goku, in his base form alone, was able to take on Super Saiyan Gohan and Super Saiyan Goten at the same time, with base form Gohan alone being someone who is at least nearly as strong as Rildo. This means that Goku in the time period between like the fight with Rildo to this fight means he got his Super Saiyan type boost by just training. And within the same saga, Baby was able to use an attack that was so strong that it was able to affect the instant transmission zone, which is a space that encompasses things like the Sugarogi space and space that and like the space has no concept of space and time, so this instant transmission realm is potentially an outerversal realm. Later on, within later portions of Dragon Ball GT, Goku, when he unlocked his Super Saiyan 4 form and was able to use it pretty well, he was so strong that he was able to blast a hole through Omega Shenron's body. Omega Shenron is a version of Sin Shenron that got 10 times stronger in comparison to his Sin self. But even then, Omega Shenron was already the strongest for like Shadow Dragon due to his performance against Goku and other factors. For reference, the Black Smoke Shenron was confirmed by a Toei website to be able to destroy the entire Dragon Ball universe. And when they say universe in that context, it most likely means the entire macrocosm. Sin Shenron was also was also stated that he could destroy the universe, most likely the macrocosm, with his minus energy just tearing the fucking universe apart, really. And we know that AP and durability are closely linked within Dragon Ball, which would include, which means that, you know, Sin Shenron basically has outerversal AP and outerversal durability due to the fact that there are the outerversal outer realm and outerversal instant transmission realms within the macrocosm that he is like basically threatening to destroy. And you could also apply Koyama's Twitter statements to the original anime timeline and GT's cosmology at the very least, potentially even the canon one as well, but that's a little iffy. You could argue that the Koyama statements are unreliable since those are his opinions, but even then, Koyama is the Z anime series basically organizer and is also the script writer for the films from Dragon Ball Z to Dragon Fist Explosion. If Goku won't do this, who will? And Toei also had a statement on the Dragon Ball like website at one point saying that Janemba was the strongest movie antagonist, but after Koyama made the statement I have on screen in an interview, Toei immediately took that Janemba statement down and in the Super Dragon Ball Z website on the 21st of December in 2005, Toriyama himself stated that everyone who works on the Dragon Ball anime, which includes Koyama, obviously, is actually very knowledgeable about the series. And this is coming from Toriyama himself. So, Koyama and his opinions, even though they are his opinions, should still be taken into consideration to some extent. And you could potentially, like, apply them, which, considering that all of that I mentioned, plus the fact that he did the screenplay for Dragon Ball Z Kai as well, you could just apply the, statements to not only the original Z timeline, but also to the canon timeline as well. The reason why I bring Koyama's statements up and everything is because you could potentially scale this to Omega Shenron and then to GT Goku. Koyama stated that there's an infinite hierarchy, like an infinite dimensional hierarchy for the living universe as well. And considering how he uses dimension and dimensional in the past for his Twitter statements, it's obviously in reference to spatial and temporal dimensions. And he never denied there's an infinite hierarchy for other questions that weren't even in reference to what he said. And like this would also scale to the other world going off to the Aizenshuu 4 World Guide statement I brought up before, which Koyama did say that the other world is beyond fifth dimensional, suggesting that the other world would transcend the infinite dimensional hierarchy of the living universe, which could potentially back up even more evidence for the outerversal like otherworld meta, basically. So, in conclusion, how strong is GT Goku? Considering everything I've went over for his AP scaling, Goku, this iteration of Goku is comfortably in this outerversal range of power. Like he's several layers into outerversal to the point where it's crazy. Like it's unironically crazy. Even if you don't want to agree with the outerversal stuff, he is comfortably several dimensional tiers above fifth dimensional. It's not even funny. Like you could unironically get him anywhere from 6 to 7D at the very least. Um, there's probably more scans and stuff you could use for the Dragon Ball cosmology to get him even higher. It's crazy to think that this version of Goku is so underrated. But yeah. Anyway, that's that's it. Slon.